Alright, so first thing first, let's get back to Ultane.
He's in for a surprise. That was such a four-hammer throw.
Horseman. You could have knocked, but I suppose that isn't your way, is it?
So yeah,
I did knock.
because we managed to defeat the Griever, now Ultane decides to respect war.
You weren't always the Black Hammer. You huddle in exile, a hermit among tombstones. Why? What role did you play in this, Ulthane?
Horseman, I've got something for you. A fair bit of work.
That's not answering the question. Also, I love this. Since he's a blacksmith and everything, his weapon of choice to give you is a gun.
Okay.
This is.
Let me now present you with some American magic.
Did I mention already that this is done by a former Image comic artist?
And I gave it.
I just love it though. All these mystical weapons, mystical sword, mystical hammer, practically gauntlets, and now a good old revolver.
Afraid of death, boy.
Well, it does look particularly big, so again, it exudes 90s Image comic.
Hey, just a minute, no. Get back here. You pointed a gun at my head and pulled the trigger. You were gonna kill me. I'm not done with you.
Oh well, don't worry, we will see back Ultane before the end of the game. It's called Mercy. Yeah, sure. So I know what you're thinking. What kind of gun is this? Is this of the Devil May Cry variety to juggle combos, or is it actually useful? And in between. You can use it to kill airborne targets, but it won't inflict a lot of damage, so it's mostly good as a utility tool for finishing off hard targets, or, you know, those that you cannot normally reach via jumping.
Does it work with a good damage rate at least?
Well, you need also to purchase, you know, an upgrade for Vulgrim to be a bit more, give it a bit more punch. But otherwise, again, just stick to your sword for most enemies. There will be an occasion where the gun is mandatory, but not now. For now, let's give back to Samael his second heart.
Did you enjoy yourself? War in the Black Hammer, plucking pigeons.
You see a great many things from inside a prison, Samael.
There is little you can keep from me, Horseman. Once I have a mind to know it.
And what do you know of Uriel?
I thought the Horsemen were above such earthly pursuits.
She believes I killed Abaddon.
The Hellguard worshipped their fallen...
We forgot Abaddon was the bearded guy that we saw in the prologue that was attacked by a demon, but as we saw, he wasn't really killed. So...
than professional. She will stop at nothing to punish the one responsible.
You know,
Fought the demon who killed Abaddon.
given that Abaddon does tend to be a name used for demons in media,
we'll see. We'll see what happens.
highly
to him.
suspect.
Face him again. He draws power from the spire and won't stand to be away from it for long. With all I have taught you, you might even survive the reunion.
Well, how kind. Yeah, let's go to the next
The
target.
Stygian is king of the ancient worms that now plague the
Ah.
lands. It won't be easy. The worms grow well in such fertile ground.
Fertile.
Worms, huh? So what are we doing with a Lich King?
Well, more like graboids from Tremors or the big worms from Arrakis from Dune.
Lovely. Well, as long as you walk without rhythm, you won't attract the worm.
Oh, if only. We'll see later.
Are made to fight in cruel arenas.
Could you walk on your hands?
Also, camera, pull back a bit. I don't need to see Samael's face. These
That's the thing though, this game's been pretty much like Fellowship of the Ring, if you know what I mean.
Ashworms.
You know of the chronospheres?
A gift of the old ones. It
Seriously, I can see up this guy's nose.
Ah, maybe that's
Is
our
this-
answer.
Is
Maybe
this
that's-
like Fellowship of the Ring or Mission Impossible 3?
Yes.
None of the old
Perhaps that will be our
masters
answer to this apocalypse. Rewind time and prevent it.
Surprisingly, no, it's just there for you to give a bit of a power up. It won't be much to rewind time Superman 1 style, but it will be enough to slow it to traverse particular danger zones.
Perhaps not. What in this life is certain, Horseman? Other than our word, of course.
Sure, well, whatever.
A demon saying that their word is the only thing that's certain in life. Now you know things are getting dodgy. But yeah, no, the thing about Ulfane, I get the feeling somebody who made this was a fan of Samurai Jack, because Ulfane has, like,
Scotsman.
the same energy as the Scotsman. A rather comedic foe in an otherwise relatively dark era where the world is pretty much messed up and whatnot. He really just seems to reap that same energy, essentially.
Although, as hinted, there's more to him than meets the eye, but we'll have to learn it later. For now,
So,
let's
is
go to
there
the next
any-
area. Go on.
Do you ever figure out what was his logic in giving the embodiment of war a handgun? Okay, to be fair, a very big revolver, which looks cool, but knowing War's fighting style, why do you think, oh yeah, best guy to give
In
a gun
case you're
to?
wondering, as far as I know, it's not one of Stripe's gun, because the franchise tintillates a bit, you know, sort of, like I said, giving cameo, quote-unquote, weapons from the other Horsemen to each other for the sake of, you know, different gameplay, potential different gameplay styles or something else, you know, just for a kick or a cameo. But as far as I understand, no, Stripe's guns have different names.
I wonder if maybe this was before all of the horsemen
Here's
were...
how you use the chronospheres. Normally, there are these glyphs that you can activate normally or by hitting them with the crossblades, and once you do, they slow time. To demonstrate this, there's the gate here, which normally opens up but then closes immediately. But of course, if you actually open it and then use the chronosphere immediately, you should have enough time to cross. Go on, Joseph.
Lovely. I wonder if maybe, again... Okay, while they had the overall idea of the horsemen mapped out, I'm guessing maybe they didn't have each of the 4 horsemen completely mapped out, so maybe giving War a gun was kind of making him a jack-of-all-trades, master of none before they decided on which weapon each horseman would fully specialize with.
Potentially, but also for the sake of, you know, continue to give a bit of variety. Again, we have to remember that about the other big inspiration for this was Ocarina of Time. So while Link did not have a gun, he had the slingshot. So there's possibly a reference to that, just as a traditional, more throwable weapon. Sorry, not ranged weapon, but wasn't the throwable one. You know.
I don't even mind it too much. Like I said, the revolver looks awesome, and shoot, yeah, revolvers are kind of my favorite type of handgun. There's just something about the way the cylinder revolves with each shot, and
that's
really helps
literally
with
in the
those
name.
dramatic bouts. Yeah, and now you get why Ocelot truly loves it, but yeah, no, like, I guess it just feels almost a bit out of place for War's Arsenal with all these mystical-looking
Again,
elements.
by
That's...
the next part, if I recall correctly, you understand why he kind of needs in eyesight.
Okay, then. The dry road.
That's what. Yeah, no, that doesn't work.
So, I see here is kind of more of a zombified part here.
Well, yeah, also outside of the bats, but that's just the preamble. You will get to see different enemies soon enough, although, like I said, the game is running out of enemy varieties and it's gonna start showing more palette swaps.
I presume we're like almost 3/4 into the game, though.
Okay,
Assuming that...
more like 3/5. Okay, let me put it this way. This game is divided in two sections. One, a big one, which is this one where he's fighting the what's it called, the chosen one, also fallen angels.
Oh boy.
And one that is not as big, which is gonna be, well, revealed later after we dealt with them. Again, another bit of an inspiration from Ocarina of Time, but you'll be able to see.
So these fallen angels, I guess, are servants of the Big L.
No, as far as we know, again, the Destroyer, as it's called. We don't know what the Destroyer looks like, but just that he's big demon in command of the armies here that has ravaged the Earth, and has not been.
So basically, so we literally don't know what's happened to the Big G or the Big L, essentially.
For now, no. Again, the next games will try to not answer the question, but plant hints about it.
Interesting. So basically, this is what happens when the bosses of Heaven and Hell basically go on too long a vacation, and no one's left with the list on things to do when the apocalypse
Especially
hits.
because,
So everyone's
remember,
just winging it.
In this continuity, there's the Char Council supposedly to mediate both factions, and the whole thing about the apocalypse was the equivalent of breaking a treaty. So everyone doesn't know what's going on and everything, and there's right now a bit of a fight for power to fill in the vacuum. This is also why war is also here to punish the responsible and have the Char Council regain control over the situation.
Shame he got framed for things in the process.
Again, by the end we will learn everything we have to, don't worry.
But yeah, Dry Road again. I'm guessing this will be our Earth Temple, since this seems to emphasize
this right now, but where does it lead us? Yes. Although I have to warn you, Luis, unfortunately, we will have to visit your favorite locale, the desert, as given by the preview.
Beautiful.
I mean, to be honest, with our, I think it'd be easier to name one of our games that we've done that doesn't have a desert in it.
Let me think. I can think of a couple, you know. Okay.
Here's a better challenge. How about games that actually make desert
Okay.
levels fun?
Graves, Ratchet and Clank Quest for Booty. That one doesn't have a desert
Oh!
because it's entirely on a planet that is, you know, pirate themed. There you go.
It's because the game was too short to have a desert level.
I mean, it still it fits your criteria, so you know.
Yeah, true. It technically does. And hey, I guess you can say
What
Ace
about-
Attorney didn't. Ace Attorney doesn't have a desert level.
What about games that take longer than it takes me to get to work?
You have to be more specific about that because I don't know how your shift schedule works.
10 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, don't you mean shorter than?
The game that you recorded, so far, the Ridge Racer games, since they usually take place in urban areas, they should be fine.
I guess it also might vary on what you consider finishing or completing a game. Like, some games can be incredibly quick if you're just like playing them without trying to fully complete them.
I can see it now. We get a Ridge Racer revival, but all the tracks are in the desert.
I mean, doesn't the NASCAR usually involve racing through the desert, at least for a bit? I don't know the details about it, but I seem to recall something like that.
Well, I mean, provided Bamco get their shit together and not waste time doing questionable gritty reboots of Pac-Man like we're still in 2006.
You know,
Honestly,
I got a
James, considering the stuff that happened to Bandai Namco recently, Shadow Labyrinth is the least of their quote-unquote problems. Even then, I still argue it's still a good game. Compared to Bomberman Act Zero, the only thing that is potentially going against it is if you don't like the gritty reboot quote-unquote aesthetic, but oddly enough, they make it... Compared to Bomberman Act Zero, they actually try to make it work instead of, you know, being gratuitous about it.
That's my biggest problem, the principle of it all. Really, we're going backwards 20 years and trying to try to gritify bloody Pac-Man.
Okay,
I mean,
so
there's a reason why, for example, they gave up on that really bad looking gritty Mega Man X reboot.
I mean,
Okay.
I already
I wanna
mentioned
be a-
mostly because he not knew how to make it work. Also, Draves, just to mention, I will still take Shadow Labyrinth very gladly over the Ghostly Adventures.
yes. Look. I know that Shadow Labyrinth technically turns Pac-Man into an anime girl. Context
Long
before
story.
the leak, but no. Phoebe is a way better design for Pac-Man than anything from Ghostly Adventures.
Wasn't Ghostly Adventures just basically? By the way, did it come
The Sonic
before or
Boom
after Sonic
equivalent.
Boom?
Around the same time.
No.
Around the same time, actually,
Well, okay,
it's
yeah.
more of a case where Capcom, Namco, and Sega, all of them had for their major mascots a reboot series that tries to wackify their character designs and behavior, and nobody understands why they did it.
Tio, that implies Capcom consider Mega Man their major mascot.
Well, no matter, it's kind of like with Konami and Frogger Dreams. Executives can say as much as they want, but them still the facts. Also similar to Ubisoft with Rayman.
Here's the deal. Mega Man wasn't their biggest selling one, but for a time, yes, even Capcom themselves were basically considering Mega Man their mascot. This is why there was so much fan outcry when, the Dork Age of Mega Man began, essentially.
Again, here's how it works. The Ashlands are stalked by, again, the Sandworm, TM. So there's more than just one, so this is not the only one you have to avoid. So for the time being, you need to use the crossblades on the Chronosphere conveniently placed portals, because unfortunately the Ashland is too, dense for War to actually run into it. So it literally slows your movement to a crawl, and you need to actually run as fast as you can to get to cover, basically. And in case you're wondering, no, you cannot fight the sandworms just yet. If they catch you, it's a one-hit kill.
Of course.
Shame. Can we throw a bomb down their necks?
Surprisingly, no. Well, yeah, that's a thing. Considering taking inspiration from Ocarina of Time, we don't really have an explosive equivalent to the bombs. Weird.
Really?
Go on, Jova.
Yeah, no, when it comes to Mega Man, yes, Capcom, for all intents and purposes, have treated Mega Man as their mascot. The bright, quirky up-and-comer. The problem was when they basically started to become obsessed with more so the fighting games, Resident Evils, Monster Hunter, and whatnot, and Mega Man kind of fell to the wayside, essentially. But as far as people are concerned, not helped by the fact that Capcom haven't really established a new mascot, Mega Man is essentially their go-to character for a lot of their representation.
When it comes to Japan,
At this point, that robot girl from Pragmata is going to be their new mascot.
when it comes to, Dreams, only if you actually allow such a narrative to happen. But also, when it comes to Japan, it's mostly the felines from Monster Hunter that they use for mascot purposes, but mostly for commercials and stuff.
Basically,
They even had a small anime series, wacky comedy anime series, that was released, believe it or not, back when the Nintendo anime channel was a thing on Nintendo 3DS, which was about chibi versions of feline just fucking around. It was actually kind of entertaining, if you ask me.
basically, let me put it like this. Think like Disney. Mickey is not their most profitable character these days, but he is still arguably the most recognized as their mascot, essentially, because he just clicks and fits. Like, there was apparently a time where they were considering replacing him with Simba because Lion King was the highest grossing animated film for quite a long time, but eventually they stuck with Mickey as their mascot, essentially. That's kind of how it is with Mega Man. Even if he's not the highest grossing series, he's just got that nice iconic value that, he has a nice recognizable design. He's relatively good for all ages, so not restricted to either kids or adults, essentially.
Well,
It
so that
just
Steamboat
works.
really gritty horror film came out.
Well, that's only one era of Mickey, and, to be fair, that's like a whole Well, that's the whole license-free thing now, now that he's public domain, but that's a whole nother thing. I will say this, okay, I get calling the Ghostly Adventures of Pac-Man the equivalent to Sonic Boom, but I feel like that's doing Sonic Boom a disservice, specifically the TV series anyway. Like,
I mean, it is also the equivalent of a bad humor to it, so I think it really fits.
The Sonic Boom TV series actually had good writing, though. Ghostly Adventures did not.
I don't know, like, outside of that one scene where Knuckles, has his feminist moment, which even then feels more like a soapbox moment from one of the writers rather than just, an actual joke. I don't really particularly remember any particularly funny ones. Like, one thing I remember was that scene where Shadow arrives, and Eggman starts, taking the piece basically out of Shadow fanboys. Which is, I'm sure it was funny to some of the authors and everything, but I don't even find it offensive, it's just a thing.
As someone who watched Sonic Boom the TV series, it did actually have a lot of good funny moments. Like, there's a reason it did get a noticeable fan base, with some people considering it the best Sonic series. Admittedly not the highest bar to clear, but no, Sonic Boom the TV series earned its fan base, whereas Pac-Man Ghostly Adventures, as far as I know, mostly just got scorned. Like, Sonic Boom, at least you could have people saying, hey, I actually did like this design, or hey, I actually liked Eggman, or Tails, or even Sonic's design. Like, yeah, people were split on the designs, but at least there were people who could genuinely like stuff. And shoot, there's still people actually asking that Styx be brought over to the main series. She was that well received. Conversely, with Pac-Man The Ghostly Adventures, no one's really asking for that design. In fact, if anything, people were, like, praising the Lord that when it was World's design that made it into Smash instead of Ghostly Adventures. But, and of course, I think as we all know, what happened with Mega Man Fully Charged, not great, to say the least.
I mean, I haven't seen Mega Man Fully Charged, but I have seen a few stills, and
it's not even about just just the aesthetic, but also what they do with it. It's like the show managed to genuinely give not idiosyncratic, but genuine fear every time Gutsman appears on screen, because the stuff that they did with him on that show really shouldn't really be for kids, if you ask me.
I swear, it does some stupid gross out humor stuff that can be just nauseating
by the way,
times.
Around this time, basically you can realize that you can use the gauntlet to literally just throw the enemies off the arena, and it counts as an insta kill. So away with you.
So we're getting all Force Unleashed on here, are we?
Basically. Again, to be
the
fair,
funny thing
you could
is,
do this kind of things also with other hack and slashes like the Greek Saga God of War. So
that's my favorite way to kill enemies in that game. Just throw them.
Mind you, it only works for these relatively medium-sized ones. For bigger targets, you can. Also, this passage will be activated another time. It's just there for now.
It's funny how they consider them falling onto the sand a one-hit kill when even the sand is arguably not too far away. Now, it would be cool if they considered it a one-hit kill by having the worm show up and eat them.
Remember, though, these were still developed on the PS3, Xbox 360 era, so, they couldn't really do that much detail.
Of course.
Alright, for now,
but yeah, no.
We're stuck on these towers, and we need to deactivate them while lowering down the chronospheres, triggers, in order to actually progress safely to the other side. Go on.
Of course. Bringing the conversation back to Shadow Labyrinth, though, I never hated Shadow Labyrinth for one simple fact. Unlike, say, something like Bomberman X-Zero or Jak and Daxter 2, it wasn't like the Edgy reboot was trying to, replace the, iconic stuff. Like, no, we were still getting proper Pac-Man stuff. Shadow Labyrinth was just like an extension of the franchise rather than trying to replace it.
For spoiler reason purposes, Shadow Labyrinth technically counts as a Pac-Man game, but in the grand scheme of things, it's more tied to the Xevious franchise, believe it or not.
I should mention, actually, Joe, that a month before, actually, at least in Japan, a month before Act Zero, Bomberman, the real one, got a PSP game about a few weeks before Act Zero came out.
It's also worth
Although
noting
was-
that it was a matter of licensing because remember Hudson Soft had been acquired, I think, around this point, at that point by Konami, so they were just finalizing everything at that point.
Like, yeah, also to point out, Dwibs, while yes, we did get that PSP one, wasn't the narrative at the time, though, that was just a little throwback to throw fans a bone, whereas Act Zero was what they truly planned for the franchise to be, were it successful?
Maybe. I mean, there was that they did this really cringy defense article at one point.
Oh, Lord.
The point also this is that, again, if you remember, Act Zero really did not have really much content, in it. It was just
All it had
simple-
was a really, really dull-looking online mode and 2 single-player modes where you can do it either over the map, like in the normal games, or a not first-person view.
My point is that it don't really have that much of a story, when you get down to it. Outside of Shadow Labyrinth actually having, a story, which I argue, again, it's not really that bad. It's your standard, sci-fi story that works a bit like in the 90s.
If I'm ever gonna touch
Sure.
that, I'm probably just gonna wait until it comes on like Game Pass or PlayStation Plus.
Anyway,
I will
just
say
in case,
this.
in case you're wondering, yes, the Chronosphere can also be used in combat if you have the occasion, so you can, roleplay as Dio Brando if you want for that. Also, no, again,
Chaos Control.
yeah, this is who I am. No, again, outside of the of Shadow Labyrinth having a story, like I said, Bomberman Act Zero reminds me instead more of Umbrella Corps, a game specifically done for its online component with already, tagged on single player, which, okay, to be fair, Umbrella Corps did have more of a story than Act Zero, but that's not really saying much, and it was done mostly to, get a quick onto that specific market cache, and it not work out. The only major difference is that, as far as we understand, Umbrella Corps is apparently still canon? ? Like,
Apparently, yeah.
I mean,
Like, if I
again,
recall
I will
correctly,
say
it
this,
establishes stuff like Red Umbrella and
and Wesker
the implication
being
that
still
Hunk
alive
is still
also-
alive.
Also,
think-
Wesker apparently.
I'm not sure about the Wesker thing, although given what Requiem establishes, maybe that was actually Xeno after all.
Who the fuck knows at this point? Again, we're reaching moments of Korean, so what the fuck? That's not where I am. That's,
What? How did that happen?
Yeah, let's do it again. They did the texture, man.
No, don't you see? It's the force of God himself.
Yeah, truly. My point in all of these dreams, I understand that you not liking the aesthetic, but there's more to it when it comes to Shadow Labyrinth. You will see when I eventually record the game.
Like, okay, here's my take with something. If you want to do an edgy take on a relatively family-friendly franchise, sure, that's fine. Okay, just don't do it in a sense where that is going to take away the original version, unless the original version was something people didn't like and it was time for a change, because otherwise, even if your game turns out good, chances are you're going to piss people off. And I know some people might think, well, won't some fans be not pleased at all? That's kind of besides the point, because when you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one, essentially. That being said, that doesn't mean you should go out of your way to piss people off in something that could have easily been avoided. Shadow Labyrinth, I feel, worked enough because, first of all, it was fun, and second of all, it's not like it's threatening Pac-Man's existence. Like, it doesn't mean that the next Pac-Man game we're gonna see suddenly is now Shadow Labyrinth.
It's
As
the kind
far
of
as I
thing
know,
to
it's
how-
a spin-off of Branch.
To stay in Banyanko territory, it's kind of like how people were fearing that because of the popularity of their other games, when Armored Core Fires of Rubicon was announced, people were afraid it was going to be Dark Souls with Max instead of actually having the traditional. armored core combat, and lo and behold, it still had it at the end of the day. So
Thank goodness, yeah. I do get some people's worries, but I think Shadow Labyrinth is a good case where, for all our fears, it just turned out to be a good game that's on its own, and
it's more again a
ideally,
case where the people involved knew what they were doing, unlike with Act Zero. Simple as that.
I will say this though, as long as the higher-ups don't, mandate that suddenly Shadow Labyrinth is the face of Pac-Man, I think we're fine.
Well, they have. Didn't they recently release the Pac-Man World 2 repack?
Yeah, and they also have in plan, more not necessarily compilations, but other stuff, involving Pac-Man, like that stack mountain, type of game themed after some classic Namco IPs, including, Pac-Man, Mappy, Color Dragon, and so on.
And hey, to show that they're that dedicated, they even brought back the original Pac-Man World Free voice actor for Pac-Man in the Pac World 2 remake.
What do you know? There's actually water under the desert. Also, there is the icon, one of the most precious icons that you need. The one from the Lost Legion, specifically the one about the commander, but we are not able to get it just yet. We're gonna be needing an extra upgrade to get where it is, and what I will show you later.
Hey, War, try shooting it with your gun. Maybe that'll help you collect it.
No, we cannot. It's not about that. But even you mentioned, because the next game, Darksiders 2, has a type of collectible, we need to shoot it for it to bounce on you.
Cute. Like I said, it'll be interesting if it turns out in hindsight that War is like the jack of all trades with weapons, so he's just someone who can adapt to all weapons, whereas the other horsemen are more specialized.
Death actually,
really?
In Darksiders 2 has a lot of more variety when it comes to secondary weapons, believe it or not.
Huh. Color me surprised. If anyone would be the master of weapons, I presume that would be War of the Horsemen.
Well, okay, again, we're trying to have the same approach of Kratos in God of War 3, specifically having a decent amount of variety of weapons, but not that many, and stuff that, will fit the kind of character that he is. Again, you have to remember that the revolver is more of a utility tool than an actual, combat-oriented weapon.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's probably going to be used more so for puzzles than combat in this.
To an extent, but there will be specific, like I said, by the next part you'll be able to see that there's going to be a type of situation where it's required for combat.
So long as it gels well enough, I shouldn't have any issue with that.
You'll see. Anyway, there you go. It unlocks this chronosphere, which we need to progress through the other side, basically.
I forget if we ever talked about this, but which is your favorite horseman of the narrative of this series so far?
Well, I think I mentioned in part 1, but, War just for the fact that he's voiced by Liam O'Brien. I know it's super petty, but still.
Hey, look, every detail helps sometimes.
Again, not that I read is like the others. When it came to Darkseid 3, there were some, there was some detractive discourse about Fury, because, as OMG, the fact that she's female, even though, that has been a thing since the first game in showcasing that. But, again, just ignore that. When it comes to her as a character, she's fine. When the final product was released, people had a Pikachu shocked face by realizing that, the character named Fury was not all about, smiles and rainbows. But again, you'll be able to see, when we get eventually to Darksiders 3.
Alright.
Oh, come on! That breaks me from my transformation state?
Oh, that's dickish. Not really a fan of when games do something like that, especially since the camera doesn't let you always keep track of those
Oh no, to be
hangers.
fair, it's not about the ceiling. Look at the ground, the puddles of vomit, whatever it is, those are your indication. I just simply thought that just because I was in the transformation state, I was able to tank that to some degree.
That is a bit funny. The ultimate state of war. able to be cancelled out by a ceiling hanger.
I mean, it's kind of the equivalent of Link wearing the Fierce Deity mask, still being able to be grabbed by Master Hands.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, I guess theoretically is something that can happen. But again, it only for testing purposes, because the Fierce Deity mask is something you get only for the end of the game.
Now it's funny, you say Master Hands, because funnily enough, now if you were talking about the Master Hands from Smash, that would actually be people saying no duh.
Master Floor Hands, what they're called.
Oh, you mean the Wall Master Hands.
Wall Masters, thank you. Anyway, tuning for the next part, where we conclude our trek through the desert, TADM, and fight the Stygian. See ya.
See ya.